Welcome to Game of the Day, where I randomize a date and play a game that came out on that same day. Today we're starting with 2021 for the year and July 28th for the date. There were a total of 58 titles released on this day, with some standouts being Paint the Town Red and The Ascent, but the game that ultimately came out on top was The Witch Doctor. The plot of this game is a mouthful, so please bear with me. The Witch Doctor is a role playing game that follows Lua, who, as the title implies, is a witch doctor that saves Snowfall Village's queen from a sleeping spell cast by another evil witch. She is accompanied by a warrior named Nova, who sees the kindness in Lua despite the village not trusting her intent with the queen due to witch doctors having a bad reputation. That being said, once the queen is stolen by another witch by the name of Mortes, Lua is framed and thrown in prison due to suspicion of working with her. It's later found out that Mortes' main reasoning for stealing the queen is to revive the Gigantos with a key she has, and now it's the job of our party to try and stop her from doing so while saving the queen. Along the way, we're also joined by Rubik, one of the queens of out sorcerers that imprisoned us, and Sagus, a retired priest that's main goal is to help find refugees a safe place to live. After that, it was just mainly the trope of being a second too late to every location Mortes is at, then fighting a boss in her place. Now diving into the gameplay, since the game uses RPG Maker for the engine, it has most of the basic elements you would expect, like healing and stat boost potions, equipable items such as weapons, shields, clothes, etc., a variety of enemies with different weaknesses, critical hits, and more. I encountered about 5 different type of base enemies that either came solo or in a group of 5, and I ran into 2 bosses, but in the end the game itself wasn't all that challenging after about 2 hours, and I didn't really come close to dying at all. Now, as someone whose only RPG experience comes from Pokemon and Clear Obscure Expedition 33, I don't know if this is common, but I did notice that enemies within this game had no health bar or indication if something was super effective or not very effective. There are different elements within the game such as fire, ice, light, and dark, and more, but I didn't really notice any difference between using them on enemies. The only noticeable damage gap came between if an enemy was weak to physical attacks or magical attacks. And to cover another super important aspect in RPGs, the game itself visually looked really nice. I'm not sure if it had an asset pack or it was using original sprites, but nonetheless, from a visual standpoint, I had no problems with how the game looked. Other things I noticed was that the game was controller compatible, which is always a plus. I never got too lost as the game marked your objective with green glowing blobs, and the enemies had no bounds and would follow you across the map to jump you, which funnily enough I kind of enjoyed as it forced me to move smartly or I'd get cornered by like 3 different encounters back to back. But with all that being said, I'd give this game a yep, it's a RPG out of 10. Make sure to follow and leave a comment what you would rate this game alongside games you hope to see in the future on the series, and I'll see you guys in the next one.